they had hoped once they got here.
Yeah, and Audi have been bulletproof here. They've had no mechanical problems at all with these cars. Been an absolutely wonderful run for them. Just all came back to them. They were patient, they were solid, and they've been reliable. So just as we're looking at those pictures, Danny Watts has just left the pits. That's the the LMP2 class leading HPD car. He's taken it over from Johnny Kane. He's going to do the final 2 stints, and that car, would you believe it, is now up to 7th place overall.
Yes, it is. Or it will be as soon as it gets by Alexander Wurz, which, well, that'll take a while, actually. He's 22. Yeah, oh, no.
Got 2 hours to do it.
Wurz has just gone from the timing screens.
Right.
Wurz has now been officially retired. He is an abandon. So, Bing, even as that sentence was forming, Danny Watts went from 8th to 7th. So,
I was just jumping the gun, sorry.
No, you were just looking into your crystal balls. Very well done indeed. So, yeah, the Straka team, and I was hearing from Marino Franchitti just a while ago. You know, the heartbreak at Highcroft, they brought the same package to the table. They had just as much pace in terms of car, engine and driver, not necessarily the rub of the luck. And again, we talked about that at the beginning of the race and several times through. You need 2 things to win at Le Mans. You need luck and you need good fuel mileage.
Here's an interesting little thing. Danny Watts in 7th place overall, and behind him in 8th place, Adrian Fernandez in the Lola. Now, of course, Danny's team bought Adrian Fernandez's car. I wonder if this moment Adrian's thinking,
maybe I should have stayed
kept
there.
the car and come to Le Mans with it.
Well, I think, to be honest, I think Fernandez has a wonderful deal with Lola Aston Martin. That Lowe's-sponsored car is, I believe, quite a few years deal now that he's got going, and he will be enjoying every minute of driving that car. They've just had a bit of bad luck with the gearbox, but I think it would have been right behind the 009 car if they hadn't had the problem. But certainly, Danny Watts' car has been leading right the way from the beginning, practically, and I think possibly one of the highest placings that LMP2 has had for a while.
In fact, right behind him is one of the Lola Astons. Don't know whether it's 007 Adrian Fernandez or 009 Darren Turner, but it was flashing the headlights as the forlorn sight of the #1 Peugeot sitting in the garage, abandoned by the team to its fate. Unfortunately, it coughed and spewed its cylinders out. Exactly the right-hand bank, exactly the same as the other car did as well.
And that car is the 2nd place car, of course, in LMP2, the Oak Racing Pescarolo, Guillaume Moreau at the wheel at the moment.
Well, we saw a minute ago, didn't we, Hugues de Schoenack going and putting his arm around Olivier Canal, and this sort of real reversal there, you know, a man who has been through the mill at Le Mans so many times since that win where he orchestrated Mazda's win in 1991, and de Schoenack knows the heartbreak of not finishing. I mean, almost everybody who comes to Le Mans does, so he was able to offer a little bit of sympathy to Olivier Canal, but you could see there clearly the emotion of the moment is not lost on him either. There is still a slender chance his car might salvage a podium for Peugeot, but it is still only a slender chance, and Loic Duval is going to have to take it off Tom Christensen. That's not going to be easy in any man's game.
However, we're looking right now, Loic Duval is doing a quicker lap time than Christensen. Tom Christensen has just done a 3:25. Duval has done a 3:22, and the team orders we heard were to push as hard as they can no matter what.
RML car 3rd in the LMP2 category at the moment after a catalogue of small trouble early in the day. We're going to switch over now to Eurosport International for the race finale. So thank you for being with us on Eurosport 2. Just flick up one channel and we'll be on the Big Bird in just a moment. On the other side of this break, we'll see you on Eurosport International and on British Eurosport 1. Until then, bye for now. Welcome back to Le Mans. Our coverage continues on British Eurosport and Eurosport International as Audi, quite incredibly, lie 1st, 2nd and 3rd with an hour and 48 minutes of the race remaining. Of the 4 Peugeot that started this race, just one remains. Loic Duval in the Orica Run car in 4th place. Our best P2 car is the Straka Racing HPD Acura. That is lying 7th ahead of the Oak Racing Pescarolo Judd and the Lola HPD of RML. In GT2, the lead battle is now for 13th overall, knocking on the door of the top 10. Mark Lieb for Porsche leading after Corvette's challenge faltered, and in GT1 The Celine of Julien Canal and his colleagues has now crept up into 15th position. So remarkable rate of attrition through the night. After 10 hours, we still had 44 of our 55 starters. We're now down to 30 cars remaining from 55. And as ever, having run relatively freely through the night, when the sun came up, suddenly all those overworked cars seemed to fall by the wayside. Well, now, it's been a remarkable race in terms of twists of fate, but also, particularly through some of the classes early on, a really close battle. GT2 was a really massive epic for quite a while. And we've been joined here by Jill Campbell from Master Raceway Laguna Seca, who's an old friend. And Jill, you've just seen the last of the American Le Mans Series races at your circuit a couple of weeks ago, and I think Le Mans has sort of reflected the way that the class battles have been going over in the States this year as well. It's all very close.
Oh, most certainly. I think that we are seeing some of the best racing that we've seen in many, many years. The GT battle at Laguna Seca was amazing. You know, it was like everybody wanted to win the GT class, and certainly the prototypes were out there doing their job, but the GT race was something spectacular to watch.
It's funny, isn't it? You know, we're in a period of really severe economic straits for car manufacturers and for fans and for everybody else involved with motor racing, and yet sports car racing seems to be having, you know, another breath. There's an increasing interest. I mean, more manufacturers than ever perhaps in the GT classes, and even the prototype fields with the LMP2 customer cars looking really competitive. So people still are managing to find the money to go and put on the table to go racing.
This is a tremendous platform for manufacturers for research and development. You know, going back to the old days of race today, buy tomorrow. This certainly works, and I think, like you say, seeing new teams coming in, and certainly, you know, it's a thrill for me to be able to come from America to Le Mans and see these teams racing here and doing their very best. It's a wonderful opportunity for manufacturers to show their stuff.
Well, we've had a number of Le Mans virgins up in the booth this week, and we always sort of feel that we're converting people when they come here for the first time, because everybody knows of Le Mans and everybody sort of has an idea of Le Mans, and if you've watched the TV broadcast, you've probably got a reasonably good idea of what the race is about, but there's an awful lot more, and we always ask, you know, are you going to walk away and never come back again? What about you?
Oh my goodness, I think that, you know, unless you experience this, you really have no idea as to the true essence of Le Mans. I want to take some of this home.
I know. Well, if you could bottle it, it would be fantastic, wouldn't it?
It would.
We're going to have a quick word with Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich of Audi in just a moment, so stay with us there for a second, Jill. Loic Duval in the Oreca Peugeot, incidentally, now on a real rip. He's down below the 320s. Fastest lap we've seen from a Peugeot or an Audi in the entire race has been a 3:21 that the number one car of Anthony Davidson was doing in the middle of the night. Loic Duval now down 3:19.7. I don't recall exactly what pole position was, but he's going very nearly as quick as that. Now then, let's have a word with Dr. Wolfgang Ulrich.
Dr. Ulrich, less than 2 hours to go and 3 cars in the front of the race.
Yeah, this looks nice at present, but the race is over at 3 o'clock, and we have made enough experience of being very cautious with that. So before it's 3 o'clock, you never can be sure.
After the qualify, everyone was saying, yeah, Audi seems really calm about the performance of Peugeot, and now we see that Peugeot had so many problems. That was a good strategy about Audi.
I mean, we pushed very much on efficiency and on a car that we had developed nicely through a year, and that we have been sure that we have our preparation done well. At the end you see it in the race, and for sure there is another 2 hours to go. Until now it looked from the technical side quite smooth, but I don't want to comment this because it's maybe a bad sign. So I'm looking forward to the next 2 hours to pass, and hopefully we are there where we wanted to be at 3 o'clock.
A more personal question, when do you sleep?
not on Saturday and Sunday.
Thank you.
Well, I hope you heard that. I'm afraid we didn't get a single word of it, so hopefully Dr. Ulrich was feeling a little more relaxed than he was early on when he went off to remonstrate severely with Charlie Lamb at Schnitzer. Incidentally, Loic Duval's 3:19.732 last lap, 21 thousandths off pole position, so the pace really picking up. And as you saw, Olivier Canal stepping down off the pit wall, looking here at our GT Corvette, the battle for second place. The Aston Martin young drivers Aston and Peter Cox in second place. Peter Cox driving that car at the moment, 4 minutes ahead of the Alphon Venture Corvette with Jerome Poliquin at the wheel. And for that car now, carrying the team's banner, looks like survival of the fittest is going to be their prime concern. And welcoming back Jeremy Shaw onto Eurosport's airways for the rest of the morning. And with us is Jill Campbell from Master Raceway Laguna Seca as well. And Jill, listening on the radio to the 6 hours at Master Raceway the other week, it did seem that pretty much like here at Le Mans, it was, for a 6-hour race, it had all the hallmarks of being a 10-lap sprint. It was a real bare-knuckle fight all the way through.
It was survival of the fittest every step of the way. And you watch these drivers, you know, who have to hold their concentration for so long, for such a long period of time. It just amazes me. It's no wonder there's so much passion about it over here.
Well, that's right, and so much emotion as well. Don't forget, all the teams have already been up, well, way over 24 hours, 36 hours and counting now. They will all have been in the circuit around 6 or 7 o'clock Saturday morning after, for a lot of them, a fairly long and trying week. I mean, some teams had major rebuilds each day, during the day, overnighters starting on Monday night and Tuesday night and so on. So some of them are utterly wrung out before the race even starts, which is hardly what you'd call ideal. But on the other hand, it is what it is. You've got to fight this thing. It is a little bit, Jeremy, like wrestling an alligator, really. You know, if you take your hand off its snout, then you know you're a goner. So you've just got to keep in the battle until one of you gives up.
Yeah, the best drug in the world, adrenaline. Nice and natural, love it.
Indeed.
Yeah, so you were just talking, weren't you, about that fastest lap set a moment or two ago by Loic Duval, and the fastest lap of the race so far. Liz Halday was talking about a while ago the fact that all 3 drivers in car number 1 set lap times within the 3:19 range, and I think you said that Sebastian Bourdais' pole was a 3:19.7. Well, the fastest lap of the race so far, a 3:19.241. We're not going to see him really going faster than that. Well, 3:19.241, which I think was Anthony Davidson, and that compares to the track record here of 3:19.394, so a tenth of a second or more quicker. Anthony Davidson has gone than did Stefan Sarrazin 2 years ago, and there's been a lot of restrictions put on these diesel cars since then.
Well, again, I think it shows the phenomenal step forward that Peugeot have made with the evolution of this car. Really very quick indeed this year.
Yeah, the race pace this year 5 seconds quicker than just 1 year ago, and that's despite some restrictions, as you say. A huge amount developed on the cars, but the tyres too. I think perhaps we've underestimated that a little bit through this event, because Michelin has put a lot of effort into developing these cars, particularly in conjunction, let's not forget, with the Peugeot team.
We're looking at the gap on the road between the Audi and the Peugeot. I think that's what the director is looking for here. Dindo Capello now at the wheel of car number 7. You saw him going through shot. There is Loic Duval behind him, and that's what that gap looks like. At the line last time, 32.7 seconds. Dindo, of course, on his out lap. And Loic Duval really flying at speed. That means they're on a slightly different strategy. And that may come into play later on. Don't forget, we've got 1 hour and 40 minutes, which means they will all need at least a fuel stop from now to the end of the race, because they're doing around a 50-minute, 45-minute stint. But that means that depending on how it cycles, that third place might be entirely subject to a second stop for possibly one, possibly both of the cars. There is Dindo Capello in the car he shares with Tom Christensen and Alan McNish, and barring an incident with the BMW Art car, perhaps they might have been, well, that very likely they would have been at the top of the Audi pile, because they were, and Tom could have added to his phenomenal run of Le Mans wins here. Loic Duval, though, pushing very hard indeed. Now, we heard from Hugues de Schoenack that his instructions to the team are just to give everything, to treat it as a 10-lapper or as a qualifying run, and leave absolutely nothing, to take every chance possible, to take every risk, and just to flail the car until it either wins or gives up.
And the drivers of this number 7 car, on which we were on board, have, of course, 13 Le Mans 24-hour victories, overall victories between them. It's absolutely astonishing.
And that's before we start getting the Sebring and Petit Le Mans and all the other wins,
right.
and they've got a really starry driver lineup. And the gap now down from 32 to 26 seconds on that last lap between third and fourth. Excuse me, 3:26.6 for Dindo Capello, a 3:20.2, so 6.4 seconds quicker on that lap, Loic Duval, and that is starting to show us perhaps what Peugeot have really got. You know, they can do 19s and 20s on this track almost at will.
In the last 50 minutes, that gap has exactly halved. It was 52 seconds 50 minutes ago, now down to 26 seconds.
Well, at that rate, he has got time. Has he got enough staying power in the Peugeot to do it? We'll find out. Stay with us, live at Le Mans. Welcome back live to Le Mans, where Audi lie first, second and third. This is the third place car of Dindo Capello that he shares with Alan Manish and Tom Christensen. Multiple race winning team in third place, being caught fast by the only remaining Peugeot of Loic Duval. And there's its team boss. Hugues de Schoenack knows they're in a race against time and against this capricious race. Le Mans is without any doubt, with no disrespect to everybody in the booth, it is without doubt female, because it is so demanding and so difficult, and yet also so rewarding if you get it right. Jill Campbell, do you think that's a fair assessment?
That's pretty good, actually. You got it right.
I think so. It is so rewarding, but it is a really cruel mistress. Look, the gap now down from first to second, the high fives there, down to 23.9 seconds, but Capello responds. Loic Duval only taking 2 seconds out of him this lap. Now, Jill, very quickly before we get back to the race, we're talking about ALMS at Master Raceway Laguna Seca, and of course you've got the Monterey Historics coming up. It's been a tough time for circuit owners, particularly Master Raceway, because you don't own the facility, you administer the facility, and so you've got to, your money comes from gate, so you've got to be good at the promotion. All right, so we'll get back to that in just a moment. We're going to have a quick word, Nico Lapierre. Hopefully we'll be able to hear it this time, and hopefully you will as well. Hugues de Schoenack still deep in thought as the Peugeot team try and salvage something from Le Mans.
Nicolas Lapierre, il y a 1 heure et 34 minutes qui restent.
Nico, there's 1 hour and 34 minutes left.
Pit stop reste pour Ricard.
How many pit stops have you got to make?
Ça va être juste. Et Audi vont
Well,
avoir
2
un
for
pit stop
Orica.
et un splash. Donc,
And Audi, I think, will make 1 pit stop.
Maintenant, Loic est en train de faire vraiment
So they'll spend about 30 seconds less in the pit than we will. So hopefully the last stint will go well. Well, okay. Well, that answers the questions that we were asking then. 1 more stop for Audi, Peugeot reckon, but 2 for them. So Loic Duval must make the pass once, stop for fuel, and then make it again. Car number 52 going slowly at the moment, and that is the young driver Aston Martin, as you saw there, Christopher Nygaard, Thomas Enger and Peter Cox, and that car was in 2nd place in the GT1 class. Well, again, Jill, talking about getting gate in, of course, the ALMS race is always big, motorcycle racing is always big, and I know MotoGP was a great addition to your calendar, but the Monterey Historics is one of the things that everybody thinks of when you talk about Pebble Beach and Master Raceway, all in that same breath, and presumably that's another big focus for your season.
Oh, it's huge. And as you said, you know, you listed all of our big events, and the Monterey Historics this year being renamed to the Rolex Monterey Motorsports Reunion after 36 years, and it's taking on a new dawn, a new era. We have a record number of entries this year, is 638 very classic sports car racing vehicles will be on the track. And as you said, we're a non-profit organisation, so these events are very important, and getting fans like you have here at Le Mans to circuits like, you know, Master Raceway Laguna Seca are very, very important. The fans here, you know, have gone through an endurance race in themselves, I think. So I'll take some of them home with me too.
All right, I think that's a great idea. Well, listen, we wish you the very best. It's just a delight to see you here. So let's hope you get a chance to come back and join us at Le Mans again for many more years to come. Jill Campbell from Master Raceway, thank you very much. And Jeremy Shaw, a fabulous race. Oh, sorry, I beg your pardon, you haven't got a headset on. Chris Parsons, a fabulous race unfolding in front of our eyes, or is it unraveling in front of our eyes? Because all of the strong teams seem to be really struggling here, perhaps with the exception of the most experienced of them all, Audi.
Well, and Eureka, they seem to be doing an extremely good job with Loic Duval just having set a faster sector time.
Yep.
See on our screens.
Fastest in the third sector again of the entire race. Doesn't seem to be able to do it in sector 1 and 2, but sector 3, the Porsche curves, he's getting even better now. 3:19.07. And so we are within a whisker of getting into the 3:18s. Bearing in mind, he's running low on fuel now, so he'll be in those really fast laps. Now let's get down to the pit lane again, see if we can catch up with Pedro Lamy.
Pedro Lamy, 90 minutes left in this race. I think this is not the place where you wanted to watch it from.
Well, for us it's very difficult. I mean, in my car we stopped too early, and the car number 2 and number 1, they had failures and with the engine, and they had to stop as well. So Peugeot Sport this year are very sad. The team worked very hard for that, did a very good job. The car was very good, but that's racing, you know. I mean, the team now has to start working, has been starting already for the future, but now it's time to think what was wrong and if we can avoid.
The car was in its 4th year. Usually reliability shouldn't be a problem in this stage, but is it the whole rule change that brought the problems for Peugeot?
Maybe a bit, and you know, I'm not sure, but when you have a car that you don't push for the limit, maybe it doesn't break. So we had a car that we had to go on the limits in every aspect. Maybe that's the reason the car become a bit more fragile. I don't know.
Where do you go from here for next year?
Next year, what? If I come back here, I hope I stay with Peugeot. We will see. I don't know.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I think we're hearing Pedro Lamy echo the words we were maybe saying earlier that we thought might have been the case, pushing those Peugeots so hard that perhaps they push them beyond the levels of the reliability. You just don't really know. 3:19.0 though for Loic Duval, and we saw the team punching the air and clapping when they saw that time come up. An incredible time, absolutely smashing the record and the qualifying time, and I think we could be seeing a time in 3:18 soon.
Yeah, I don't think that's far away. Lap record is 3:18.5, and the race record lap, is 3:19.3. So he's inside the all-time record for a race, and that means the track record will have been Stefan Sarazan's fastest ever pole time. It's half a second away. Liz, the way things are going, I don't think that's necessarily out of the question. It's quite remarkable. Now, Chris, you were thinking about various parts of the tyre battle. Of course, our tyre battle out front in the P1 class is a pair of Michelin-based teams, and of course, Michelin with Pirelli both looking at potentially being Formula 1 suppliers next year as well.
And one of the things that Michelin were looking at taking into Formula 1 was sports car sizes, and one wonders whether they might therefore have pushed development on sports car tyres further.
Yeah, that might have to bring sports car type excitement to Formula 1. Yeah. We certainly wouldn't want any of that. We'll be back in just a moment. Cynics are us. Welcome back live to Le Mans as the Grand Prix drivers Ferrari makes what is likely to be its final stop, you would think. Oh no, hour and 26, Jeremy Shaw, no, I think they'll owe us one as well, won't they?
Yeah, they will, I think, and I thought they changed drivers last time, because I saw Giancarlo Fisichella walking back to his garage area through the paddock about 45 minutes ago, if that, and very impressed I was. I mean, he was quite happy stopping and signing autographs, taking pictures with young children and things, having just got out of the car, you know, having been up for goodness knows how long. You know, class act, Fizzy. So the car's still running strongly. They were certainly in contention to win this fabulous GT2 class. They've had some problems, however, in the last 6 hours of the race.
Yeah, so they currently lie. Oh, I'm struggling to find them on the screen now. Which, oh, dear goodness me, yes, they're 4th in GT2. Now, do you remember, Jeremy, yesterday evening we stood chatting to Richard Westbrook in the paddock, and he was complaining how the race engine they put into that BMS Scuderia Italia Porsche couldn't pull it itself out of its own way and was flatter than a flat thing. Yet, because they did what they expected to do, which was just sit in the car until it either broke or saw the checkered flag, the attrition in GT2 has been high enough, and they have picked up pace well enough, maybe as the engine loosened up, that they are now in 3rd place in GT2. And I tell you what, if you had said, I guarantee you'll be on the podium tomorrow, to Richard Westbrook, he would have laughed in your face yesterday. He was up for the race, but he certainly wasn't expecting the engine to be able to do anything in terms of pace. But it's not always fast that wins this race, Liz Halliday. It's not always most rehearsal that wins this race. It's something in between. Well,
we were talking about this just a minute ago between ourselves about how Peugeot's done so much practice around the Paul Ricard circuit, but Paul Ricard is not a partial road, partial purpose-built racetrack. And what we mean by that is, you know, these cars are having to drive on the actual Mulsanne Straight, which is a public road, all the rest of the time, even between practice sessions. And you don't see it on the TV, but it is very bumpy. And actually, even just crossing over the white dividing line of the circuit bottoms out these cars. As a driver, you have to come onto the straight and actually pick your crossover point. We can see some of the bumps in the other portions of the circuit that are hitting the cars as they come into the S's. There's a huge bump there. I don't think they would have found that anywhere else but here, really. And I think the only other place that you could do a proper test to really prepare yourself for Le Mans would be Sebring, in my opinion.
Well, the other thing, Jeremy, is think back to the beginning of the race, the battle for 4th place with this Orica car and Alan McNish behind. If you were doing a 24-hour simulation and 2 of your cars started off at each other like that, the first thing that happened is the radio would crackle into life and go, come on, let's not mess around, we've got to be serious. You know, when you go simulating, you're testing the componentry, but what you're not doing is putting it to the ultimate test, and there is still no more ultimate a test than racing at Le Mans. What it was designed to do 81 editions ago, back in the 1920s, nearly a century ago, it's still doing, testing cars to their absolute ultimate.
You're absolutely right, both of you, because you know, Liz was talking there about the benefits of testing at Sebring. Okay, Sebring isn't as fast as Le Mans. It is a fast circuit. It's not as quick as it used to be, but it's still a quick track, and it's very, very bumpy. It is a real test of man and machine there, so it is a great warm-up for the Le Mans 24 Hours. We've seen, you know, many teams in the past shaking their cars down there, just preparing themselves for Le Mans. And it's kind of ironic, isn't it, that this year Peugeot they went to Sebring and Audi did not, and yet it's worked out to be the other way around this weekend at Le Mans.
Hugues de Schoenack in pit road, waiting for Peugeot number 4, driven by Loic Duval. This is the car that Loic is chasing. He is he was 11.4 seconds behind at the beginning of the lap, behind car number 7, driven by Dindo Capello. Dindo did the 3:25 to a 3:21 of Loic Duval last time, which means he will almost see the Audi in places on this lap. It'll be almost in vision before he gets out of the corner. He just gets a sight of him. Now, suddenly, if he was doing 3:20s and 3:19s before, he's found half a second or a second a lap in pace just by being able to see him. Loic Duval is now going to hunt him right down, but with Hugues de Schoenack in the pit road, chances are he's going to get right behind him on these last wisps of fuel, then have to dive in for the first of what we've been told will have to be 2 pit stops before the end for this Peugeot. So it's, I mean, you need a slide rule and a mind like a trap, and who's got one of those? I mean, a slide rule in these days, but after all this time, who's got a mind that can do that? Hopefully on the pit walls, everybody still has got a brain like a processor, because, boy, they're going to need to make sure they don't put more than a kilo extra fuel in than they need, otherwise that might lose them a podium, Liz.
Well, right now, this is going to come down to is the pit stop, and I can tell you right now that Hugues de Schoenack is telling his team, this needs to be hot, boys. This needs needs to be the best pit stop you have ever done in your entire life. It needs to be clean, it needs to be perfect, it needs to be fast. And if they screw that up, then all the work that Loic Duval has just done, and he's just done another fastest sector time, will be in the pan, and it won't mean anything. So it's going to be really exciting to watch the pit stop they're about to pull off.
You know, they'll probably in the back of the, you know, when you see them in American football in the locker room, helmeted up, suited up, banging heads on the lockers.
One of those.
Get that adrenaline going. Oh boy, because, you know, you want to be calm, but that adrenaline, it's what it does to your brain, Jeremy. You know, Loic Duval's driving a car in a way that he couldn't have driven it in qualifying, just because the adrenaline, look at that, the adrenaline pump is so massive that the Audi drops out of sight, and he must be pulling the steering wheel towards him with his fingertips. Come on, closer, closer, come on baby, let's do this thing.
He's really taking full advantage of this low fuel tank run here towards the end of the stint. I reckon he's probably going to be in this lap around for car number 4 with Loic Duval at the wheel. The interesting thing is going to be, will he change tyres? You're right, they're doing about 45 minutes between pit stops, so they will have to make one more almost full stop before the end of this race.
Right, before we get to the pits then, let's take a quick commercial break. We'll be back live with more action from Le Mans in just a second. Welcome back live to Le Mans as the number 4 Peugeot has made the first of what we believe will have to be 2 stops. And if ever there was a team fired up for a pit stop this holiday, with the chase they've got on to salvage something for Peugeot, to be the team that get on the podium, you know that those mechanics are, exactly as you said earlier, doing the best pit stop they have ever done, maybe ever will do in their lives.
They would have been so pumped before that. They would have been, you know, whacking each other on the back going, right boys, this is what we practiced for, this is it, let's do it. And I think they've just, I think they've done it. I think they've done a really good stop, and we're going to have to see. He's gone straight out and done a fastest sector time again, I think, hasn't he?
Absolutely. Now, we were just saying Andre Lotterer coming into the pit road. This is him. He's about to bail out. This Audi in second place. Timo Bernhardt still leads in Audi number 9. Audi number 8 in second place. So Lotterer, Marcel Fassler and Benoit Treluyer, they are the trio. So driver change, he'll get fresh tyres. Hour and 16 they'll have to splash and top up before the end of the race, and that's something that crew chief there at the nose of the car, Brad Kettler, will be way familiar with. Of course, for many years the crew chief, a champion in the American Le Mans Series before joining this Yost lineup for the Audi Sport North America team. And of course, you know, for Audi North America, for their car potentially to be the car that wins it, the number 9 car, that's going to be a huge boost for them as well, with Mike Rockefeller, Timo Bernhardt and Romain Dumas. So Andre Lotterer to get on his way, and not Andrew Lotterer, he's just got out.
And that was a quick stop. That was very quick.
Very quick, very smooth, as you would expect, because, you know, Audi have been doing this for over a decade, so they are pretty well rehearsed in the demands of Le Mans.
So both of those 2 cars are going to have to make one more fuel stop, which will be about a bit over 2/3 of a tank of fuel. The car number 7, with which Loic Duval is effectively battling for the final podium position, is Dindo Capello at the wheel right now. He's going to have to make another pit stop pretty shortly. 365, probably about another 4 laps, I would reckon, before we see car number 7 onto pit lane. And there is Dindo Capello pushing as hard as he possibly can. He knows his final stop is going to be shorter than the Peugeot. That is certainly going to play into his advantage with this very restricted fuel flow on the refueling system.
Well, his stop will be shorter than Peugeot's last stop, and that's a drama for the Peugeot team. No. And the 3rd engine has gone.
Oh no.
Well, I was just about to say, looking at Olivier Canal, he knows the highs and lows of this race, but unbelievably now it's Hugues de Schoenack who is in floods of tears, just as Olivier Canal was. And again, the only car that Peugeot have not lost with an engine failure was the Sebastian Bourdais car, which went out with a suspension element tearing out of the tub. Car number 3 was a break in the tub. The other 3 have been let down by this new, fast, powerful and relentlessly tried and tested Peugeot engine. And from the elation last year for Peugeot of winning at Le Mans, the heartache and heartbreak, the other side of the coin.
Absolutely inconsolable, I think.
An hour ago he was consoling Olivier Canal. Now it is Hugues de Schoenack himself who feels that bitter, bitter gall, because there is just nothing you can do. We heard from him earlier. He said to Loic Duval, leave nothing, give it everything, take every chance. And there, but for an hour and 13 minutes, all but nothing.
That's what it was.
Yeah, that's exactly what happens when you're trying to run a sprint race at the end of a 24-hour race. I mean, you're pushing everything to the absolute ultimate. I mean, the test races that they do, the test simulations, they're not pushing this hard, are they, Liz Halliday?
No, I mean, and they're not going to be pushing in these conditions either. I mean, you absolutely cannot simulate a race condition, you know, in these sort of situations. No matter what you tell the drivers, no matter what you try, you are not in the race, and I don't think you can ever simulate that. Nope. And Peugeot has proved that today, and I do feel for them. It's just awful. It's not the way you want to see this. An hour and 13 minutes from the end of the race, but we can give Loic Duval a big clap, because my word, what a performance.
He comes away with a new race lap record, a new fastest lap, which is absolutely remarkable, as we see that race leader onto the pit lane. But, you know, it's been remarkable to me to see them turn laps faster than qualifying at the end of a 24-hour race. You've got to be kidding me. Have we ever seen that before? I mean, you know, these races are run at a vastly superior pace than they were 5 years ago. I mean, 20 years ago, they were cruising for most of the race just to make sure they got to the end. Nothing like that here.
Yes, in those days, I mean, you think about the great qualifying laps, and in those days, qualifying was something really special. Low fuel, soft tyres, the race was all about survival. Now, Liz, in 23 hours, we're going faster than we ever did in practice. I mean, it's almost unbelievable that it's possible to do with a race car.
And we've been lucky here. We've had cool conditions, so this has actually been possible, and we've seen such an incredible performance today. I mean, we have to take that away and give that to Peugeot. What we've seen today is a true performance of skill and speed, and unfortunately not reliability. I think we're going to go to the pits and get an interview with Hugues de Schoenack of that last remaining number 4 Peugeot, and this is just such a tragedy for them today.
Yeah, you can understand the emotion of Hugues. I mean, he's a class act, number 1. He's been around the sport an awful long time. He is French to the core, but he's also got just a full knowledge of motorsport and the international ramifications of an event such as this.
Well, he's such a sportsman as well. You know, one of the most amiable people you can choose to meet. So this is going to be really tough for Hugues to gather himself together.
Hugues de Schoenack, un moment terrible pour vous.
Oui, c'est
terrible parce qu'on peut pas penser. Yeah, terrible, because we never thought that Peugeot, all 4, could possibly retire from the race, and for the same reason for 3 of them. The pressure here, the speed here has been incredible, but the preparation Peugeot put in was just astonishing. And Hugues saying an hour from the finish, it's almost unacceptable that it ends this way. I think Peugeot have done a phenomenal job. They've worked so hard to come back after last year and to make so many big improvements. 4 Peugeots came here, and to have none of them on the track at the end really hurts. This is almost impossible to accept it. It's such a huge disappointment for us. We were on the podium, our car. The gap got cut back down. We were chasing again to try and get back into the podium, just a few seconds away. We did what we had to do. We gave everything. And if life was a little fairer, maybe we would have ended up on the podium as well. Peugeot should have got something more than this for all their efforts. It is really cruel. Yes, it is really cruel. And I think that's actually a fair comment. You know, for all the effort they put in, for all the entertainment they provided alone, Peugeot deserve to take something away from this. Well, they've got a lap record, but in the end they won't care too much about that. What they wanted was a team on the podium in amongst the Audis, if nothing else.
And I think if you'd asked somebody to predict what this race would bring us, I don't think anybody could have done it. You just never would have imagined having all 4 Peugeots out, 3 of them out for the same engine failure. This is just absolute disaster, and I do truly feel for them. I think it's just horrible because they've worked so hard. What a tragedy today.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. I mean, but, yeah, on the other hand, we were talking about a 1-2-3 for the factory team, weren't we? All the way going up into the race, we were thinking, however, the factory Peugeot team, not the factory Audi team.
After practice, it was impossible for us or Audi almost to even see how they would get onto the podium. I mean, in the first minutes of the race, they were being left behind by all of the Peugeots, and it just looked as though that was never going to change. But the guillotine has fallen, I'm afraid, and Peugeot are all done here. Audi, 1, 2, 3, incredibly. Welcome back to Le Mans, where I think you may be needing the hankies actually at the end of this, because it's always an emotional thing to get to the end of Le Mans, Liz Halliday, whether it's win, lose or draw, because everybody is so tired. Olivier Canal of Peugeot Sport and Hugues de Schoenack embracing each other. Their dreams have come crumbling down since the night time, where they lost Sébastien Bourdais, Peugeot Lamy and Simon Pagenaud's car early on, the number 3 car, with a suspension failure. They have now lost their remaining 3 cars, all with identical engine failures, all the right-hand bank of cylinders, all very shortly after a pit stop, as I recall. So there is a common element, I'm sure they will find to that, and whatever else happens, whether it's heat sink in the turbo or something else, that fact about being red hot, stopping and then being flailed to within an inch of its life again, something is a common factor. I'm sure they'll find it and come back stronger for next time.
Well, I think the reality of it is we will probably never know, because they're not going to tell us the ins and outs of what have happened.
But they will know, and that's what matters.
Certainly it's such an emotional experience going through the 24 hours of Le Mans with the team, for the drivers and the team, especially this close to the end and being at the front. So we're just seeing the incredible emotion coming through these teams. Just such a hardship to accept the fact that 3 cars could fail the exact same way, and they never could have imagined this would happen to them. And I truly feel for them. You know, I know what it's like to drive here and to be a part of it, and it's just so awful when it goes wrong.
You can see the explosion, the outlet of emotion there, Jeremy Shaw, when it finally is released there for de Schoenack and earlier for Olivier Canal. Now imagine the emotions in the number 9 Audi, in the Audi Sport North America car. Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Bernhardt and Romain Dumas hoping against hope, praying against praying, an hour and 4 minutes and 36 seconds until time is up and they get to the flag. And the pent-up emotions then, I mean, they're just going to be like an absolute pressure cooker waiting to go off. It's just going to be a remarkable achievement if they manage to win this race.
Indeed, sir. We learned, haven't we, already not to count any chickens.
Oh, my word, yes.
But, you know, each of those 3 guys in that car, Mike Rockenfeller, Timo Bernhardt and Romain Dumas, they haven't stood on the podium at Le Mans. Rockenfeller and Bernhardt both got GT class victories here. Romain Dumas has been on the podium here, 3rd overall for the Pescarolo team in 07, but to make that step from just the kind of the podium to the top step, that is a huge step.
And a trio of first-time winners. Our race, 3rd place car, Dindo Capello on pit lane. Danny Watts there, the LMP2 leader in the Straka Racing Acura HPD, taking it very easily away because, of course, the Highcroft car that was their rival for so long in the race has succumbed pretty much to overheating problems. And Straka are going to try and get the car out at the end of the race, but they really can't run it for more than 2 or 3 laps, Marino Franchitti was saying earlier. Now let's get back down to the pit lane and catch up with more news.
Olivier Pani, c'est un moment terrible pour vous.
Terrible moment, Olivier. Yeah, absolutely, for the whole team, really, of course, for the drivers, for the mechanics, designers and everything. We've done our best. We knew we had a car that could win this race. We've given everything we could, and this is really cruel. it's a really tough race when it goes badly for you. Peugeot have done a fantastic job. We couldn't have asked them for anything else. You know, the magic of Le Mans is when it happens for you, but now we're all very disappointed. We're going to try and come back and revanche, not quite revenge, but yeah, come back next week, next year, and try and do it all again. Although next week, actually, we're talking a little bit earlier, and there's a lot of teams who would like to come back and have another go next week, because a year is a very long time when you've faced the disappointment of either, well, from Autocon and Mike Lewis's point, failing on the first lap, or possibly potentially failing on the last lap. You know, it's as heartbreaking with all that preparation that goes into it for 12 months either way.
It's hard to decide which is actually worse and or better, to be honest. I mean, both are horrible for different reasons. But interestingly, what we've seen, the minute that failure happened in the Peugeot car, the Audis backed their times down just a little bit. I think they all took a huge sigh of relief and went, now we can look after these cars and bring them home, because the next car who would stand to benefit from any failure in Audi would be that Lola Aston Martin, currently driven by Sam Hancock, who's done a fantastic job in this car. They're currently lying in 4th place in LMP1, which is brilliant for the petrol cars to have pushed through so many diesels. We never thought this was the case. We thought it'd be a battle for 8th place, but they've definitely reined it up there, and they're far enough away from the Audis that there isn't a panic in the Audi camp. And I think they're just, the plan now is going to be look after the cars, because we have lost so many LMP1 cars in this race.
Our race leader Timo Bernhardt has now completed 380 laps, and you know, so what? But Jeremy, actually, so what is quite a lot, and the fact that he is now 2 laps away from the all-time distance record set by Peugeot 2 years ago in 2009, last year rather, in 2009. Yes, is quite remarkable, because we've still got an hour of racing to go, and they're not going to just creep round, you know, and do 1 lap in the next hour, are they? So they're going to bust it wide open.
They are indeed, by a goodly margin, probably by sort of 12, 13, 14 laps, which is absolutely amazing. Okay, last year, yeah, there was some fairly inclement weather, particularly on Sunday morning, so that slowed down the pace somewhat. And we had, what, 3 pace car periods, I think, didn't we, yesterday afternoon and evening? And a couple of them were fairly lengthy ones as well.
Indeed,
I mean, the one for Nigel Mansell was best part of 40 minutes.
Yeah, absolutely.
And a couple of others weren't short either. So, I mean, it just, again, it brings it home, hammers it home, the pace that these guys have been running. We've heard some sort of criticism, yeah, maybe the Peugeots weren't pushing hard yesterday afternoon. Well, they were. We heard Sebastian, we sort of decried Sebastian Bourdais. We said, yeah, we're driving flat out here. Well, I think they were. I mean, the lap times when he was talking, we were looking at them, they were sort of 3-minute 24s or so, but they'd be down in the 22s and 21s even before that. And, you know, it was a shame that the race was kind of broken open by that first safety car period, because it didn't really show how close the Audis could have gotten to the Peugeots, because there was a safety car between them, so they were immediately split by a third of this lap.
Well, I think they were definitely pushing hard straight away, but maybe not hanging it out the edge, which is when they get the call, which each one of those cars did at one stage in this race, they got the call to absolutely rag it. And I think when they did that, we started to see the times we did, and that is what saw the end of the Peugeots.
Indeed, and the Audis, yeah, they played it right. I mean, that's probably as fast as their car would go, but this is the sort of pace they wanted to run in any case. Well, so even with that, yeah, they've still beaten that distance record by a huge margin.
This is how Reinhold Joest learned to go racing. In the old days of enduring the race, and particularly in the Group C era, of course, in which he was a bit of a master as well, you know, you set your race pace and you stick to it. That's plan A. Plan B, see plan A. There is no variation. No. You've got to be there at hour 23, then you look at what's what and see what you've got left to play with. If it rained and you saved some fuel, okay, up with the boost, here we go, let's go for it. If not, we are where we are. Interestingly, Audi at the top of the field, some very interesting stories down the classes, of course. Stracker Racing coming here against, well, they're the Le Mans Series front runners in the LMP2 class against the American Le Mans Series front runners in the LMP2 class, Highcroft Racing. Highcroft, of course, first time here at Le Mans, but I mean, a massive battle between those two. Highcroft ended up with problems, perversely, with the HPD part of the package, with the engine is overheating, and they've been sort of blunted a little bit. And Stracker you know, with two pro drivers, and Nick Leventis won't mind you saying, you know, a gentleman driver, you know, to end up winning their class against some very serious opposition in the LMP2 class will be a great reward if they can hang on to it for another hour. In the GT1 class, the Celine now looking as though it's going to claim in its last time at Le Mans its first ever win, which is quite remarkable. And from all the contenders in GT2, Porsche, of course, coming out on top.
Leventis, you're 4 laps ahead leading the LMP2 category. Now you're carrying the car home.
Well, there's still an hour to go, so a stint, and we reckon about 5 laps also, so it's all to play for, but it's looking pretty good so far.
So, what do you do during this last hour? All the engineers are just listening even more carefully and monitoring even more carefully all the data?
Absolutely, we're monitoring everything really closely, not taking any risks on track, avoiding any incidents, and hopefully we'll be able to bring the car home safe and sound in an hour and a half.
Is it any concern what happened to the car in the garage next to you, to the other Acura?
A little bit, but ideally we want the other car to finish. It would be great to bring both HBDs back. They're having a few problems, but I think they may well get out and be able to finish the race, in which case it's best for all of us.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, cheers. Thanks.
Well, Nick never looks like a man who's having a really tough time, but right at the moment he looks like a man who all his dreams are starting to come together. I'm not quite sure what the presentation is here. We're going to take a quick commercial break anyway and be right back with you after this. Stay with us for the end of Le Mans live on Eurosport. And the heartbreak continues. 4th place, Lola Aston Martin, the best of the Gulf cars. Sam Hancock at the wheel, and it is rolling to a halt out on the circuit. This is the run down towards Indianapolis. The right-hand bank of cylinders has had enough and is pouring smoke through. And unfortunately, I don't think Sam is going to be in any condition to get it back to the pit lane. Even if he did, I'm not sure there's very much they can do. And Liz, that's really heartbreaking, isn't it? You know, they are now 53 minutes away from a really great result, and unfortunately it is just trickling away from them. And here's the moment we saw those little puffs of smoke on the straight, and that, I'm afraid, is all you need to know. Once the engine starts burning the oil, she's done.
I'm actually feeling a little bit close to tears at the moment, I have to be honest, because, you know, poor Sam was in the car with me in 2005 when we were leading LMP2, and we had a failure as well, and he's not finished this race for a while, and he's done such a wonderful job in this car. All 3 drivers have, and I just so wanted them to finish 4th. I'm feeling really sad for him right now.
Well, you're not the only one. It's always very emotional at the end of this race, because there are so many good stories, but it's the hard luck stories that really grab your heartstrings.
It's his 5th start here at Le Mans for Sam Hancock. He hasn't yet finished the race, and I'm right with you, because he's not put a wheel wrong. The guys have done a fantastic job, and you know, if you could get it, if only it would limp you. What you really want that car, if you can just limp it around, get it back to the bits, and just somehow get around to do that final lap. That's what you want it to do.
Lose a gear or something, you know, like Andy Wallace in the Jag, and Jan Lammers driving it home in just 1 gear for a pit stop and you know, an hour and a half. That's all. That's all something. But when the engine goes, there is nothing else left. You know, the car that's now going to take its place, Didier Andre here in Hugues de Schonag's Orica AIM. This car has been having nightmares of its own. Every time it stops in the pits, they have to take the rear body cover off, and English car drivers will be very familiar with this. Get a long rod and drop it down the side of the engine and bang the starter motor until the solenoid engages to get it going again. You know, whatever ropey old dog of a car you had when you were a kid, I'm sure you must have done that at some stage. That's how they're getting their car to the end. And for Hugues de Schonag, incredibly, the Peugeot might have gone, but his other car may end up in 4th position as the best of the petrol cars. In fact, will end up in 4th position unless something dramatic happens to it. But for Darren Turner there, taking off his balaclava, and particularly for Sam, you know, for the whole of that Gulf Aston team, feel really, really disappointed. There's no other words for it.
Crushing. And you know, ironically, Didier Andre, I mean, those guys in that number 6 car, you share, of course, with Sahir Ayari and Andy Merrick, of course, from the UK. They've had all sorts of problems in this race, but they have kept it going. And with the pace they're going, they're probably just about to complete the same sort of distance that the 009 car has already run. But with the Le Mans regulations, if you're not running at the finish, you're not even classified, which I've always thought is absolutely a ridiculous regulation.
Well, you're not a finisher. It is a list of classified finishers, and I know I can agree that it doesn't give you due respect for the hard work you've put in, but then Le Mans often doesn't, I'm afraid. So
I've just had to have a little quiet moment off air there.
Yeah, no, I think we all have a little quiet moment as well. In the pits, incidentally, is our GT2 leader, Mark Lieb, in his Porsche. That 77 Felbermeyer Proton Porsche. And I have to say, you know, of all the times to be in the Le Mans pit lane, I always used to hate this time, going up to people and having to interview them or intrude on their disappointment and their heartbreak. But Sebastian has drawn the short straw today, and he's down with Darren Turner.
Darren Turner, we just saw your car stopping at the side of the track. Do you already know what happened exactly?
No, I haven't spoken to the team yet. Obviously, I'm in the garage, but I need to go and speak to the engineers behind there and just see what's happened. It looks, from what we can see on the telly, that it's an engine drama. It's just so unfortunate that we, done 23 hours and now we get so far, and we have this. It was looking good for a top 4 finish for the car, and considering what the preparation has been for this year for Le Mans, it's been very low key. It was a very good sign, but obviously that's just how it's gone, and we have to come back and try next year.
When you put it in perspective with all the trouble the other car had as well, it was a very tough weekend for the Aston Martins.
Yeah, I know 007 they had the gearbox problem during the night, and we've been running absolutely clean the whole way through the race, no dramas, except for, we've had to be careful, we've had to just peg the engine back a little bit, but that started very early in the race. But I'm not sure that would be what accounted for what's happened just now on the circuit. But we ran very reliable here last year, and nothing's really changed. It's just one of those things, unfortunately.
What do you think about? Do you think already about next year with the new regulations, ideally, and a better calibration in between the diesels and the petrol cars?
Well, right now I'm just feeling a bit down and deflated. The rest of the guys have worked so hard here, and the 3 drivers, we're all doing a good job on the circuit, and I'd need to go away and have a day or two just to get over having a result like that taken away. But I'm sure we'll come back next year, and hopefully the regulations will be a bit closer and we can fight the diesels.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thanks.
Liz, I often wonder what makes you more of a team, or feel more of a team, when you've won something, and thinking of the Straka team, or like that with Aston Martin, when you're all in the depths, whether whether the team spirit is even stronger then than it would be if they managed to get home in 4th place. I'm not really sure, but I think there's no question every single one of them is feeling exactly the same.
Well, I think the team's been through so much. They've been through almost 24 hours. I can't think of anything worse, to be completely honest with you, than having everything go so smoothly and having it all fall to pieces this close to the end. We're just absolutely inconsolable, but we're just going to go to a quick break. We will be back with you right after these messages.
Welcome back live to Le Mans, looking here at the car that lies in 3rd place in the LMP2 category. Ray Mallock bringing his Lola Coupe back again this year, but with a change of engine from the AER turbo motor to the HPD Honda Performance Development engine, and that seems to have really transformed, well, the pace of the car, but not necessarily their fortunes. Lots of little niggles. I mean, how many times do you hit a rabbit in a race? It's Halliday.
Well, certainly I know my co-driver hit a groundhog once at Petit Le Mans. It did a lot of damage. It was very expensive. It was a big, sturdy groundhog.
Did he keep having to hit it every lap?
No, I think he pretty much obliterated it. It was messy. Yeah, I don't recommend it. Not nice.
No, so the RML team on for another podium. They've been very successful in the LMP2 category. They are 3rd at the moment in LMP2. 2nd, Jean Charuz is at the wheel of the Oak Racing Pescarolo Jard, and again, change of engine. Again, once more away from the master engine for that team, has changed their fortunes around. They've been very quick, those three young guys. Had a couple of problems, but other than that, have been consistently running towards the front of the class. And the class leader is still the Stracker Racing car. Danny Watts driving it. GT1 second place car, Jerome Policon, has just come off pit road. The Brook Laddie team as well. Now, they've been coming here for a number of years, the Brook Laddie team, and they seem to have run into all sorts of problems over the years, and they have gradually, well, as I suppose everybody does, work hard to eliminate the problems, work hard to eliminate the human error, work hard with the car to get it stronger and stronger. And this is properly a sort of privateer entry, isn't it? Kareem Oj, Tim Greaves and Gary Chalandon, who's the sort of last-minute addition to the team. They're Janetta Zytek, and we heard from Lawrence Tomlinson a couple of times during the race that he's, come over here looking at three Janettas. Nigel Mansell, Leo Mansell, Graham Mansell's car went out very early, Jeremy, but that little Brook Laddie car, which has been very much under the radar, has stayed that way, and that's that's almost the secret, isn't it? You finished, yeah? Oh right. What happened to you? I don't think we ever saw you. No, thank the Lord.
Yeah, we've seen it a few times, but generally it's been off the road. They crashed with the warm-up, didn't they? They repaired the car after that. They had another incident last night at some stage. But you're right. They kept soldiering on. They've never given up. They've turned again. I think you guys have talked about it. They're turning their own sort of consistent pace, whatever they're comfortable with. And they're going to end up, aren't they, with a top 10 finish overall at Le Mans. Crikey.
And do you know who else